Yeah, I think, for a lot of folks, they keep saying, keep working, keep grinding, but then how do you do that and still maintain all else you got to do in life? And so we want to talk a bit about that. I think as business owners, that's the part they say, go make more money and go do all these things, get more clients, but they don't say anything about what happens when you get all those clients and what do you do with them?
Welcome back to Goings on the
Yes, welcome
Record.
back.
Today we're talking all things hustle culture and how to stay motivated as a business owner because it's rough out here sometimes.
Yeah, I think, for a lot of folks, they keep saying, keep working, keep grinding, but then how do you do that and still maintain all else you got to do in life? And so we want to talk a bit about that. I think as business owners, that's the part they say, go make more money and go do all these things, get more clients, but they don't say anything about what happens when you get all those clients and what do you do with them?
Because life be life and too
Yeah,
all
that's
the
fact.
while. And so there's definitely a harmony, there's definitely a balance. I think too, like us, just in general, folks that live in the U.S.,
Yeah.
we have this thing ingrained in us to just keep going,
Yeah.
keep working, keep going harder, 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 harder. Whereas in like European countries, they very much are like, oh,
Some
take
balance.
naps,
Yeah, some
yeah,
balance. Yeah.
balance and everything like that. So we have, as business owners, definitely had that hustle culture kind of ingrained in us, but at the same time, we do understand that it does take some
Yeah.
balance because you want to enjoy yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess for you, how do you, folks like, how do you stay not even motivated, but what do you do for yourself when you feel like you're burning out? What's your strategy? What do you like to do?
I take a break. Sometimes, like if I'm doing something as simple as during the workday, I'm trying to figure something out and I can't figure it out and I'm getting frustrated. I get up and I walk away
Yeah.
instead of just continuing to pound my head, on the wall. So I get up and walk away and take a break, take a 30-minute break. We have incorporated days where we don't accept client calls
Yeah.
just to kind of take a break from interfacing and having consultations where we can actually like sit down and like have really 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 structured
Yeah.
focused work time. So that in and of itself is kind of a break. I mean, we're working, but
Yeah.
it's a break from other responsibilities. Self-care for sure. I mean, that's necessary not only as a business owner but just in life in general. And just carving out a little bit of time to enjoy the small things, whether it be to go for a nail appointment or a hair appointment or, go do something that you'd like to do.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
we
really
even have
important.
incorporate date days in there,
Yes.
if we can to get out and do things just to be mindful. But I do think one thing you talked about, I think is important, is that having boundaries in your business. So I think we've been pretty good about that. And when I first started, it was like, you try to do all you can because you're trying to build this thing as fast as possible. But it gets to a point where you have to have some boundaries with your clients. And so you just have to set expectations about when you work, when you do not work. And I think as long as you set the boundary and you explain that to your clients, then things go well. They understand and they'll work within those boundaries. But you have to respect them too.
And the crazy thing is, though, so when I first came on full time, I was coming from a very fast paced corporate job where I was in client management. And basically, what that meant is we had a sales department, we had a client management department. And sales folks went and got the clients. And me, as a VP and client management, I basically had to keep the clients.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that meant bending over backwards and doing things to make sure that clients were happy and continue to stay happy. And so I kind of built some really bad habits.
Yes.
I built some really bad habits. And so I was really good at my job. I was really, really good at it. And my clients loved me. But I built some bad habits. There were some boundaries that were crossed every now and again.
Yeah.
And so when I came to work for, our company full time, I kind of carried some of those over. And there were some conversations where Ramon was like, hey, we can't do that.
No.
I'm like, but, we got to make sure, blah, 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 blah. He was like, we got to have clear cut boundaries.
Or else we'd be doing everything.
Yes. That we can deliver an amazing product and an amazing experience for our clients, but at the same time have boundaries in place so that we don't burn out and that we're like out of business in a couple years.
Let's say, for instance, maybe we had like say 10 clients in the program. But I'm thinking, well, what if we have 110? Can we keep what we're doing up right now for 110 folks with the current capacity that we have, no. Even if we built out more people and had more staff, it'd still be really
It's
hard to
true.
keep that up. So that's what I was thinking about,
So true.
making it easy now and kind of setting. I think it's helpful to set the things up you want now so that when you scale and expand, that you're able to still have the same great quality and not have to sacrifice that.
It's so true. It's so true. And when he put it that way, because I was kind of like going back at him. I'm like, look, I've been doing this. I've been very successful. Like, here's what we need to do. We need to give folks the ultimate experience. And he's like,
Yeah.
we can do that without having to give away everything. So we're left with nothing,
Yeah.
nothing left to give for the next client that needs our help. But it was so true. And he was like, where we are right now is not where we want to be. We definitely want to scale. We want to do more. We want to have more offerings, etc. This is not sustainable. And so I kind of had to recognize that.
Yeah, and I think part of what we will do, starting out, you're just trying to get clients and hustle it up. So I get it. Well, you got to do what you got to do when you first getting started. You got to over deliver and undercharge. It's probably what most of y'all are going to end up doing when you first starting out. So I get that. But yeah, it gets to a point where you got to recognize that either the client's going to get what they need in the time that you can give it to them, or you're going to burn out really, really quickly. And it started to happen. I started to see it, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, I got to pull back. But, when you're first selling, you're trying to give them everything. Like, look, what I got to do to get you to say yes. And you figure out all the things until you got to deliver it. And it's a rude awakening, especially when you're the person in your business that's selling and doing the delivery.
Ooh-wee.
It's hard at that point.
Ooh-wee. And then those late nights, you're like, why am I even
Yeah.
doing this?
Why am I looking at this? This is a 100-page document. I got 4 of these to do. I didn't think about all that when I was selling. I'm just looking at, can I make make the money? But after that, you got to think about delivery, and it's really important, especially for the service-based folks who have something that you actually have to do. It's really difficult.
And I think it's really important too. I mean, we all been there. We all have had those, instances where it's late nights, early mornings, just doing the work, getting what needs to be done. But, there's some times where it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. One of the ways that I stay motivated as I continue to think about or revisit, what our 3 to 5 year plan looks like. What are our goals?
Yeah.
I continue to visit those frequently, often, and talk about how we're going to get there, and think about this road or that time, it's just a blip in time. When we look at the total map of where we are and where we're going, this is just a small little part. I just got to get through it as best as I can and continue on to get to where I want to be. That helps me stay motivated.
Yeah.
Along with taking breaks
Yeah.
every now and again, just to kind of,
you
refocus myself.
No, for sure, you got to reset. And I think what will start to happen is as you all become more successful and you have more client success in whatever capacity y'all might do your business, that will bring on more clients and it'll bring on more opportunities. And then what I've started to figure out now is that you have to figure out which opportunities to say yes to. And really the no part, you have to become really good at no. I'm starting to figure that part because, when you're hustling, you're just like, yes, 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 whatever it is, I'm going to do it. And then slowly you figure out where the right fit is for you. Because one thing that will lead to the burnout and when you're hustling it up is that you take on clients that are too needy. And then when they are too needy, it burns you out. And then it's a wrap after that. You have too many of those type of folks. You don't want to do any more of that. And it makes the business not fun. And you went into it to, of course, make money, but then also have a good experience for yourself. So it makes no sense to work with people you don't want to work with.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But what do you do? And, it might be a case for some folks. They might say, well, I'm trying to get my sales, trying to do it all I'm doing. I'm starting to burn out. At what point do you think folks need to ask for and try to get help, whether that's staffing or just other types of support?
That's a good question. When it's getting to the point where I'd say for maybe think about a week to 2 weeks, and you've gotten up and you have not been happy, and you're just kind of like, why am I doing this? You've kind of lost focus of why you're doing things. The joy has kind of been taken out of it. And you're starting to question a lot of the things that you put in place, like when you first started. I think that's when you're like, okay, I don't need to continue going down this road much longer. Let me kind of stop here and figure out what is contributing to me being burnt out, and how can I alleviate that so I can keep going? Whatever you do, you keep going, but sometimes at that point you need some help. I think when it starts to get to that point where a week, 2 weeks, you just don't want to do it. You don't want to face it. It's too much. You feel overwhelmed. It starts to feel like a chore
Yes.
all the time.
Yes.
It is I mean, it's a chore.
There's chores to it. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's when you're like, okay, what's giving me the most grief? What's giving me the most headache? And how can I alleviate that? It could be, some sort of a system automation. It might not necessarily mean you have to hire somebody. It's just like, hey, okay, what do I need to do so that there's not as many boxes I physically need to check? How can I automate this? Is it a specific project that's just on my mind that can I physically do it? Yes. But is there someone that I can pay a couple $100 to do and they can do it faster, quicker, better?
Yep.
Let me go ahead and do that. Take that off my plate. Whew, that makes me feel so much better. Now I can spend my attention doing the things that I want to do that's going to further, grow my business and grow revenue.
Yeah, I remember one experience when Done Dissertation started, we were doing one-on-one coaching, right? And so I was the only one delivering that part of just the coaching side. And I think at one point I had maybe 12 clients. And think about 12 clients, that's 12-hour meetings a week. So that's 12 hours out of my week I got to devote to the clients, and I'm reviewing their work as well. I think one week I reviewed like 700 pages. I was tired. I said, if this doubles, I cannot continue this capacity of doubling this. That's when I decided, and this goes back to getting help, like what can I do to just turn this one-on-one program into a group model? And that's when we started working with Jasmine Womack, who's our, when I started developing the book, 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation, and wanted to build out the group coaching program, started working with Jasmine, and she was like, oh, this is how you build this out. And now I went from going one-on-one, say 12 clients, 12 hours a week, to 1 hour a week, and we can have up to 40, 50 clients in one hour session. And, there's still fulfillment on the review side, but then I started to figure out, all right, who has come through the one-on-one side of our program would be a great coach and a great reviewer of our students' work. And that's how Dr. Patricia Varela, so shout out to Dr. Varela, we brought her on because she was phenomenal at her work. Even as a doc student, you could see it. Like, I was like, she's going to be a phenomenal coach for clients. And so we provide her offer, and she was like, yeah, I would love to work for you all and do this. And so that's what we did. And just that alone took so much off my plate to have help on that side on client delivery. And then, Renee and I were, doing all the back end stuff. And then it got to a point where, shoot, I can't do that part either. I got I'm still faculty. I got that stuff that's ramping up. And then finally we were like, Renee, it's time.
It's time. Yeah. It was time. But I think going back to those days where I remember when you were doing the one-on-one and you'd be like, I'm going to meet so-and-so at Panera. I'm going to meet so-and-so at Starbucks to have our coaching meeting.
I was running.
I think too, part of it was not only the volume, but at that time we realized something needed to change because of its inefficiency. Yeah, people were getting that hand-holding sort of feel like I have a one-on-one coach, but there were so many times he would be driving there, the person would cancel.
Yeah, I've had that happen. That was the worst.
So much. It's like, I could have been doing something else with my time. They canceled, or you were like, we'll get there. If they show up, what are your questions? Like, what can we work through? They would have like 2 questions. You'd answer those questions in a matter of like 15 minutes. And then literally you're sitting there while they're writing. It's like, this is just so inefficient. And it was burning him out too. So I think that was the point where we're like, something has to change.
I think that I learned too from that lesson is like, not only I had to change the setup, but also to change the pricing too. Like, folks weren't showing up because they didn't have to pay. Well, they paid, but they didn't pay enough to where it impacted them if they canceled. And so once we started going up on the price, people showed up and did what they're supposed to do. And then we figured out too, being in a group program, folks were getting the results much faster. So it's like, why not take the load off us as deliverers of the product when they can be in a group format, get the delivery much faster, and have the great results? It was perfect. But had we not thought about getting some support, we'd have been done.
Oh yeah, it'd have been like, this just isn't sustainable. We don't want to do this anymore. We would have stopped and I guess moved on to the next thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
If some of y'all might want that hustle, right? The one-on-one, y'all like that. There's nothing against that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like, if you're doing it in a way that benefits you. So you might be someone who might say, you know what, I'll do the one-on-one, but I'll have a lower client load, but charge more. And you might just say, look, my max capacity is 5 clients, and you just stick with 5. And as soon as one leaves, you bring another one on, and you kind of manage it like that. So you could do it small. But I knew what we wanted to do was grow it beyond just the couple of people we could work with one-on-one. And thankfully we did. Now we're like over 100 students who've been through. had we not made that shift and change it, but getting help to make the shift.
Absolutely. Don't ignore the signs when you're starting to burn out. It means
Yeah.
it's just growing pains. It means it's time to do something a little bit differently. Not necessarily stop, but just think, take a break, and do something a little bit differently so you don't burn out.
Yeah, and I always tell Renee that sometimes I'd be like, get away from the computer. And she'll tell me this too at times, like, get away. It's like 10 o'clock. If you're at your 9 to 5, you wouldn't be doing that, staying up till 10, doing any work. Like, step away from it and then just give yourself a break. A lot of us, we're all into it. We want to get it done, but sometimes you got to take a step back and have some peace.
Yeah, he'll come upstairs and he'll be like, you still in here?
Still in there.
Still in here. And it's true, because when you start to like get to the point where you've been at your desk like 10 hours, 12 hours, now you're making dumb mistakes.
Yep.
You spending more time going back and correcting stuff that had you been fresh, you would have never, made that mistake. So just, understanding your bandwidth, understanding your capacity, understanding when, we tell our clients this, when you work best. Are you a morning person?
Yep.
Are you a person that likes to, are you a night owl? And making sure that you're, working when you're most efficient is definitely contributes to that journey. For sure.
And then I think the last thing before we wrap up on this is just having a community of people that you can talk to and build with. I think if folks who follow me might be like professors in that type of audience, a lot of times it's like this mentality that you have to do everything yourself. That's how higher ed tells you to do things. I'm like, no, that business don't go about it that way. Like, have a community, have people you can bounce ideas off of. Mm-hmm. And, you have to think much differently in this space than you would in higher education. So definitely have a community. I think we've been very lucky to have some great people in key places that we've needed.
It's so important. And when you have folks, like-minded folks going through similar experiences as you, when you're in a rut and you just are not inspired, or you're just like, I know the answer to this is probably something easy, but I can't figure it out. Having a community of folks that you can call and be like, hey, has this happened to you before? How did you overcome this?
Yep.
Be able to kind of tell you what experiences they have had. It really does like rejuvenate you and like put more light. I don't know how many times we've just been like, we don't know how to do X, Y, or Z. We'll pick up the phone and call someone, have an impromptu conversation, feverishly taking notes, and it's just like, wow, they gave us a perspective that for some reason we just couldn't see.
Couldn't see it.
And it makes you even more motivated and that much more reinvigorated to like get it done. So that's super important.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, yeah, we wanted to just touch on that briefly because we know a lot of folks right now are just trying to figure out how to get the businesses going. And part of it is you might feel like you have to hustle and grind until, you can't sleep. Folks be like, oh, no sleep. Like, no, you need all the rest. You need all those things. So
balance.
We wanted to touch on this today because I think it's an important topic. And we want to say thank y'all so much for watching this episode of Goings on the Record. We look forward to hearing from you all. Let us know in the comments some things that resonate with you from today's episode. Other topics you wanted to hear from us talk about as you follow us along our journey of building a great company.
That's a wrap.
I appreciate it. See y'all.
See ya.